Jesus forgives and heals a paralytic. What was that, mother? Another story.
Mark, we're in Luke, Luke 5:17.
You're saying this is another story of what?
Another story of faith.
Right. Another story of faith.
Because last time we seen the story of the leopard, and he had faith because he said to Jesus, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean.
Right.
Yeah, he knew it.
He knew
And
it.
of
And he
course,
asked.
Jesus,
And that's the important part. You gotta ask.
you gotta ask, and Jesus did it.
Now it happened on a certain day, as he was teaching, that there were Pharisees and teachers of the law sitting by who had come out of every town of Galilee, Judea, and Jerusalem.
Mm.
And the power of the Lord was present to heal them,
Oh, wow.
present with him to heal. Uh,
Okay.
if anybody is one, I think it's just why make the two distinctions? Because people want to heal. I think that's why.
What do you mean? The distinction between what and what? I'm sorry.
Present with him to heal. And then what did it say? The Lord was present to heal them.
Oh,
So is making the distinction as like
oh, and
somebody had a problem with calling Jesus Lord and
in,
not distinguishing the fact that God was there with Jesus to do the healing and that Jesus wasn't actually doing it himself, but through Jesus it was done. But through God it was done through Jesus's body. That's the distinction that's being made between
oh,
using those different words.
okay. And the one is in the verse, and the other one is the subnote, like in
That's
different versions.
that's also stage 3 insanity.
Oh,
There's no need to make distinctions like that. And
18, verse 18.
then behold, men brought on a bed a man who was paralyzed, whom they sought to bring in and lay before him. And when they could not find how they might bring him in, because of the crowd, they went on the housetop and let him down with his bed through the tiling into the midst before Jesus. Then he saw their faith and a guy hanging from the ceiling and
Come,
said,
we're coming in.
right, how's the weather tonight? When he saw their faith, he said to them, man, your sins are forgiven.
Yeah. And he saw their fate. Wow.
And the scribes and Pharisees began to reason, saying, who is this who speaks blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God alone? Or them? Right? There's a little bit of jealousy in that. There's a little bit, is there? Do you think they could have been a little bit jealous of what he was saying? Because they were like, oh no, somebody else is forgiving God's sins. They're not allowed to do that. That's only something I can do. Right?
Mm.
That was maybe a little bit part of it, right? They felt a little belittled in their self that somebody was doing their job. And they said, no, you're not allowed to do that. I'm only allowed to heal people.
Mm. Well, could be a little bit of jealousy. Jealousy sneaks in a lot of places. It can
Yeah.
sneak in really fast and really sneakily.
And it's not like that's not the motive, right? But it's an underlying factor that draws into the fact that like they lied about this guy to Pontius Pilate to get him killed.
Right.
So like whatever that we want to joke around about, like those are literal actions that were taken against him as a human
Right.
being. So like they come from somewhere.
And you got to be careful what's in your heart. Wow.
But this is also the first, I mean, they called it a blasphemy here, right? Could they not have taken action at this point, or did they need to hear further?
Or is this their first? real exposure to realize their feelings.
Well, what did he, somebody called it a blasphemy, correct?
They did call it a blasphemy because he said, if you read the rest of 21, you'll see why they're saying that, but in
Okay.
their feeling in their heart is also there, obviously, you know. But 20, he's saying, man, your sins are forgiven. And the Pharisees began to reason, saying, who is this who speaks blasphemy? Who can forgive sins but God alone? So
Hmm.
then he's saying he's like God and therefore a blasphemy.
Oh, so what is that? But when Jesus perceived their thoughts, so Jesus was a thinky boy again,
Yes.
and he
But
said
they're not
he.
really, they're kind of reasoning, maybe they're not even saying it out loud, right? They're just,
Well, I think perceiving, right, and the way that this is said is that Jesus said something. He heard what they said. They were talking, and you can't hear what they're saying, but like you probably know. You probably know what they're talking about.
and
And
this is
he's
Jesus.
now
So,
just going on the offensive on that part, right? Because he's like, I just told somebody not to tell them that I healed, right? He did a miracle, told somebody not to do it. Then they went and told everybody. Now he's saying he's God, right? And it's not like, in a way, right? It is a lie, right? Or what he did was wrong to tell him to not tell anybody.
oh,
It's not
no.
like it's wrong, but it's immoral in a way to bound somebody else to secrecy, especially in a manner as that. But who knows? Um, so
So here we are, 22.
yeah,
Oh, but it does say perceive their thoughts.
right. So he perceived it and then went on the offensive.
Right, right. I got you. Yes. It's also a object lesson, probably.
Right.
And
Who knows? Everybody was breaking the law. But then Jesus, perceiving their thoughts, why are you reasoning in your hearts? What which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven you, or to say, rise up and walk? But that you may know that the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins. He said that to the man who is paralyzed. I say to you, arise, take up your bed, and go to your house.
mm,
Immediately he rose up before them, took up what he had been laying on, and departed to his own house, glorifying God. And they were all amazed, and they glorified God and were filled with fear, saying, we have seen strange things today.
mm,
So he
well,
did another miracle,
yes.
so they didn't say anything.
Right, because then they realized he had power to heal the man as well.
That doesn't make it any less of a blasphemy, I guess, given the outcome, right?
And well, they would have believed, I think, that healing would have come from God. So I think that would have been a,
Right, because they didn't talk about it.
yeah. So then right. So that was a sign that maybe, you know, he knows what
Right,
he's,
because he didn't answer their question.
he didn't answer the
He
question of
just said,
which is easier
what are
to,
you talking about?
right, in like 23, right?
Right, and then he does, I
Which
mean,
is easier to say because your sins are forgiven is easy to say because there's no
right.
visual confirmation of that happening, right? But to say rise up and walk, he's a paralytic, then that's obviously a visual sign, isn't it? A physical sign.
I don't know. I think there's like a weird, it says filled with fear. I would
Are
be,
you well, they were filled with fear because now
right,
they
but like they didn't trust this guy. I don't
Now,
think they were
now
like
all the
glorified God as in like, please let this man not kill us. He just wrote, let somebody walk.
right, he made the person walk, right? Is that what you mean? Now,
You
not
think,
all the Pharisees and teachers that were coming to see him, not all of them were against him. There was
right,
Pharisees and teachers that believed him too, you know?
right. He had allies.
Yeah.
Hmm. How many enemies do you think he had? Just one?
I don't know.
At the end of it, like at the true end of it, if you could probably narrow it down to one person, well, it would be, I think, our old friend Lucifer.
Yeah. Yes. I think that
Uh,
that's probably true. Wow.
who knows?
We have seen strange things today. And I
Uh,
think there's a time of miracles maybe coming. I'm going to
right.
see. And even today,
Even today,
is that peaceful?
it is peaceful, mother.